Welcome to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show on Podcast One, broadcasting live from Mordor, the Borg Cube, and Voldemort's lair all at the same time. This show is hosted by Milo Yiannopoulos, the most fabulous supervillain on the internet. Sorry, no offense, but it's true. The Milo Yiannopoulos Show is brought to you by Breitbart.com.
Welcome to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show. This week, I am broadcasting from Los Angeles with my favorite talk show host. He is my favorite talk show host, Dave Rubin. How are you?
Milo, I'm so excited. You just said to me that I'm going to be allowed to talk for the next 45 minutes, which is literally the first time since we've been together that I'm going to be able to vent, emote, tell people what I think. This is very exciting.
Oh, dear, I'm getting shit already from this guy. Well, we were last night at UCLA. Why don't you tell listeners what went down at UCLA prior to our talk? When the purpose of our talk, of course, was to, yes, okay, the subject, the matter, the name of it was Feminism is Cancer, but we were going to have a serious, sensible, nice, calm debate, or at least you were going to ask me some calm questions.
That was the plan.
What happened?
It was quite a night. So I got there. We were supposed to start at 7 o'clock. That's when the talk was supposed to start. I got there at about 5:30 because I had a feeling, you scare people. And I thought people are going to be scared. They're going to be triggered.
Oh, lovely.
The safe spaces were going to be ransacked and people were going to be freaking out. So I was like, let me get there early, see what's going down. And I actually couldn't believe it. I mean, there were hundreds of people waiting outside to get in. So people that were pro Milo, right? And then there were, I don't know, what would you say? Maybe 100 protesters? Does that sound about right? And they were literally forming a human chain to block the entrance to this place.
they learned something from Trump, at least. The value of walls.
Right. So there's the irony first. They're pro some walls. They're pro walls that they like, not pro the walls they don't like. So that was the irony, I think, was lost on them though. So they're, and they're chanting and there's, their signs. Milo hates women. Milo hates Black Lives Matter. Milo hates trans people. A lot of, hate. Then a big sign got unfurled and it said,
it was nice. No one's ever made a banner that big for me.
Bruins against hate, but I could only see
4 stories high.
It was seriously,
that was some good shit.
It was up there, but I could only see Bruins. So I didn't know where.
All I read was Bruins ha.
Yeah, I only had the H, so I was just trying to
Bruins.
make up. Yeah. But it was nuts. So basically all these people were trying to get in. And you know my thing with free speech, and that's the alliance that we've created here. The liberal and the conservative, this cultural libertarian thing. These people that are supposed to be my people because they're on the left, even though I don't consider them liberal.
They are your people.
I don't consider them liberal. I am a liberal, but we can get to that later. But the point is that these people that are supposed to be my guys on the left, all they have to do to beat you, and you have written about this as you pointed out last night.
Gave them the playbook.
Yeah. Just let you speak. Let you speak. And then guess what? Today, one day later, now go do your speech with whoever you want. And guess what? The conservatives, all those kids last night, many of whom I met, and this was not a hate rally. I met so many great people last night. By the way, a lot of people offered to work for me. I hope that's not a problem for you. I had a lot of people offering free services.
Really?
To the Rubin Report.
Oh. No, they normally come and ask if they can be my interns.
Yeah,
they're defecting,
aren't
they?
They had a few defectors.
Damn it. I shall have to have a word.
You see what you've created?
Yeah,
here?
no, I'm going to have a word. There must have been some disaffected liberals in the audience.
I've given you some good liberal cred, but now they're coming to me. But that's okay. But this was not a hate rally in any way. And all they have to do if they want to beat you is now do the counter speech to your speech today, right?
And here's the thing, you might not win.
You might not.
You might not win. But the only way you're going to persuade people that there is at least nuance in the position is to come with fact and reason and argument. What I've managed to do is to present Feminism as Cancer as the reasonable party. Right? That's the reasonable position.
So you're doing a Trump thing there. You're throwing the bomb because that's how you get the reaction, and then you take the conversation in,
Then
right?
you take it to reason. But look at the response to last night, right? I go in there, the stated topic of my talk is Feminism is Cancer. Outrageous, right? Whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But I still come across as the more reasonable one.
Well, that's the irony. So at one point, these two girls were screaming, they stopped us from talking and they're yelling and they're screaming. And I said to them, I was like, listen, if you make a point, I said, we're going to do a Q&A after. And if you make a point, I bet you that Milo will listen and respond to your point. Now, that is what that is the good liberal value of hearing.
You're the reasonable one.
Right.
She disrupted the event. You were giving her a chance.
So I said, if you make a good point, I guarantee you Milo will respond to it. Her response was, I hate him! But that's not, no, you're missing the point. I tried to open it up for her. I tried to be fair. And by the way, you said several things that I definitely disagree with last night.
What do I say that you disagree with?
So, for example, there's stuff when you go after.
You don't disagree with me on anything.
No, listen, our arguments, I think, at this point are more on tactics. So, for example, when you're talking about the trans community and you're saying things about trannies, this and that and that.
Do we talk about the schizophrenic community? Do we talk about the bipolar community?
Sure. So this is just a matter of tactics, right? I'm trying to reach out to a community in a slightly different way than you are, right? Or when you say, because you're gay and married and that's everything that's wrong with gay. All I wanted was equal rights. Now that we have that, I think you can say whatever you want about gays. So I'm with you on that. So our little things, these are little, like,
I agree that the differences between us are minor. I agree the differences between us are minor, and we're united by the one thing that does matter, which is that we believe that you should be able to say, do, read, think, and be anything.
Absolutely. And that's the most important thing.
Obviously, some on your side don't agree.
Well,
I never tire of pointing out these are your people.
I know.
So I want to ask you.
I need a better response when you keep saying that.
These
are your people, and I'm like, wait.
Do you know what I've managed? Do you know what I've managed to do? And this is the first time any conservative on campus has ever managed to do this. I've managed to make being a liberal a liability. Being a conservative was always embarrassing. Being a conservative, you'd sort of squirm in your seat and cringe and go red when somebody pointed it out publicly. I did that to you last night, and on the basis of nothing unreasonable that you say or do or think, nothing that is unacceptable about any of your opinions, solely because you're left wing. I've never seen it in my life before. Anybody managed to make it a social liability being left wing.
Does that tell you that the world's changing? I mean, that tells you the world's changing.
Marvelous.
There were kids who came up to me last night who were basically whispering. They were like, "I'm a liberal too." Yeah.
Ooh,
so even
they
that,
feel guilty about being.
But what they were saying to me was, they were saying
instant boner. I think it's there. You can't see it because I'm in loose jeans.
This is why you don't do a video podcast.
They don't let me have video. I'm allowed audio with supervision.
Yeah, an audio boner is a whole other
audio boner. You can just hear it under the table, but that's about it.
Liberals whispering that there are liberals is crazy to me. But what I've realized is that if you want to stand for liberal values, that's now becoming a conservative position.
Oh yeah,
and that concept right there, standing for liberal values of free speech and equality and live and let live, has become the conservative position. It takes it takes a little time to understand that in your mind. But
and it's not even the libertarian position. Is conservative now.
How's it not the libertarian position?
It's a libertarian position too, but you'd expect.
But it's not only the libertarian.
It is. It's almost primarily a conservative opinion. I mean, Trump is not a libertarian candidate, although lots of libertarians love him.
Yeah.
And he's the greatest icon for anti-political correctness and free speech that we have in politics. I'm not a libertarian. I'm a conservative. I'm, similarly a symbol of free speech on campuses and in the media. Neither of the two of us are libertarians.
Yeah. Well, listen, classic liberal really, which I keep saying, and people think that means I was born in England in the 1830s.
Some flatulent Victorian theorists like
right.
J.S. Mill.
But that's not that far from libertarian. And I would say I have some libertarian leanings for sure. I'm not a big fan of the government.
Classical liberalism is the founding sort of doctrine of libertarianism. But I think that what you and I have created, along with some colleagues, and it's really quite a small group of us actually that have driven this gigantic, amazing thing of cultural libertarianism. It is the classical liberalism, J.S. Mill, but it's updated for the internet era. It's got more mischief, more fun, more provocation, more joy in it, I think. Even if some of us are more like librarians and say, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Wait, I want to mention
your funny side came out last night. I was happy for you. I was happy for you. You got some good zingers in. I was like,
come on, the line about your jaw, that was pretty good with all the dick you've been sucking.
No, that was very good. That was very good. And I also enjoyed, you were teasing me about a verified thing, and I came back at you with like, how many followers do you have? And like, okay, I get it. You have a small dick. But that was good. That was good.
But that's what it's all about. We don't have to agree on everything. But the point is we can sit there and make fun of each other and mock each other and then argue later and have dinner and have drinks and it's not a big fucking deal.
Speaking of drinks, we're drinking a very good champagne at the moment.
It's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You're forcing me to drink expensive champagne.
We're drinking Piper Heidsieck Rare. It's lovely. It's got gold leaf on the bottle, which must mean it's good.
It is lovely. But wait, before I forget, I want to mention something that you said last night that I thought you hit on something really perfectly. When the kid at the end in the Q&A asked you about Gamergate. And it made me realize that the only reason I even found out about you, the only reason I even followed you on Twitter and then we started doing this was because of Gamergate. So think how interesting that is. That we're only talking what? I met you for the first time in October. So about, 8 months ago or something.
Yeah.
So that means 9 months ago, I heard about this Gamergate thing, which I was kind of late to. And I thought, I tweeted out, I got to talk to somebody about Gamergate. And they said, a lot of people said, talk to Milo. I had no idea who you were. And now, 9 months later, here we are in the middle of something massive culturally. So it really, the credit you were giving to Gamergate.
It's the biggest story. It's the biggest story. And as you,
but I never linked it together.
As you didn't quite explicitly say just now, but I think implicitly acknowledged and correctly identified, I was the first to see it, and the first to see it coming, and the first to throw my weight.
I was trying to give you a subtle compliment.
Yeah, no,
and you turned it into...
No, but I just needed to flesh it out. For those listeners who didn't quite pick it up, Dave was basically crediting me for, the most...
Well, I was really crediting the Gamergaters for pointing me to someone that was in that, and then you...
No, I mean, I wasn't part of that movement, but I think I was the first person to give them a fair hearing.
Yeah.
And then I continued to do so. And you were very good at that too. I have a question though. Last night you said, these people are not my people, right?
Yeah.
These are the regressive leftists. They're not liberals like me.
They're not for progress. They're for regression.
Right. So I asked you, well, where are the people like you? And then you said, well, they're not here. And I quipped. So what you're basically telling me is that the American left, at least on campuses, and it seems to me everywhere else too, is either mental or absent. Either they're crazy, insane social justice warriors, or they don't give a crap. Where are the normal people?
So the normal ones mostly are still sleeping, but they're waking up. They're waking up because they're emailing me every day. There were a lot of them there last night because a lot of people did come up to me after and said, I think Milo's a little over the top, or I don't agree with him on this or that, but I have to be here because I see this as a liberal. So they are there.
But that's a mark of success for me because
absolutely,
because it's all the people that I admire are non-partisan. I think to be iconoclastic or remotely interesting, you have to be non-partisan, and I think half of my fans are disaffected liberals. Most of yours probably are.
Yeah.
And no, I think it's a mark of great success that we're able to bring these rooms together.
So I think they answered your question. I had Jonathan Haidt on my show last week, who's a professor of business at NYU, and he's been on the front of this, one of the only college professors talking about this stuff for years. Mm. And he was on last week, and he said, all these social justice warriors, all these people, they want diversity, but the one diversity they fear is diversity of thought. So they want diversity that they can look at you and say, oh, you're gay or you're black or you're Jew or you're Muslim, and then we'll diversify you and label you that way. But if we diversify thought, now we're in trouble. So he said to me that there's a stat that about 90% of college professors identify as liberal, which really at this point now is starting to mean regressive. So
I think they
really
are.
far left.
That 90%, like 75%
would probably fall in the far,
lunatics, yeah.
So that's the huge problem. But people are waking up at massive numbers. I mean, I see everything that I'm doing, the way it's working. Mm-hmm. People are waking up, and the reason we do this is because our tactics are a little different. I'll unpack an idea in a little more of a calm manner and talk it out a little bit. I
don't think of myself as uncalm.
Well, I think your sense may be slightly confused. But no,
it's the people around me that aren't calm. I'm perfectly calm. I have a permanent smile on my face. I'm the happiest person I know. All I ever do is laugh. I don't think of myself as uncalm.
It is true.
I concede that I occasionally will wind people up gratuitously when you don't.
Yeah. You're doing, I get it. Now, through knowing you, I do get the tactics of Trump a little bit more than I did probably a couple months ago. That's not even warming. That's just an understanding.
You see, in the course of the evening last night, I felt as though you were 10%, when we started, you were 10% of the way, only 10% of the way to contemplating a vote for Trump. And I felt by the end of the conversation, you were perhaps 18.
I'll give you this. Here's what I'll give you. I'm going to say 14, but I'll give you this. I will give you this, that the stuff that I care about the most, that I talk about the most, that truly is my ethos and my reason for doing any of this, is the free speech stuff. It's true equality. It's true debate of ideas, all of that stuff. And this is where it's at with that. So that has a huge, even if I don't agree politically on everything, or I have concerns about some of the language and some of that stuff.
You can at least acknowledge that the discussion that matters, the bit of this that is really important, and the people who are driving the conversation tend to be Trump people, or at least tend to be sympathetic to Trump.
I will concede the point.
And that he is perhaps, and people that you might find slightly gauche or distasteful as a sort of calm, sophisticated, urban kind of person, domesticated homosexual, nice house and car and a dog and a husband and all the rest of it.
But I'm still a liberal, so I lease my car and I rent my house.
Oh God, how disgusting!
Because you guys have all the money
how
still.
How old are you?
I know.
How old are you? Come on, tell us.
I'll be 40 next month.
Oh my God. Yeah. 40 and you don't own your own home.
Yeah, because liberals don't get the money that you guys
Are you joking me? Are you kidding? Liberals don't get the money.
Liberals doing what I'm doing.
Hollywood? Who runs the entertainment industry? Who runs the media?
Yeah.
Who runs universities?
Yeah.
Who runs think tanks? Anytime you want to get free money for anything, every apparatus.
Well, then I'm calling the wrong people.
You are calling the wrong people. You see, this is the problem. Nice guys finish last, and we've managed somehow to help you finish, not quite last, but you're still too nice.
I have some of the best stuff IKEA sells. I mean, when you get the really crappy, I always go one level above,
Oh, God.
I told Rogan, I was on Rogan a couple of weeks after you were on last time.
Yes.
And I said to him, I will know I'm a success when I have no IKEA stuff in my house. For me, that will be enough.
I've never had.
Meanwhile, I'm drinking $400 champagne.
Well, you're welcome.
And your posse is partying downstairs. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
I always happen. My entourage is like gremlins. I keep feeding them. I keep feeding them after midnight.
You throw them in water, they multiply.
Wait, what is it? I can't. Is it feeding? No, wait.
If you
feed them, then the furry ones multiply, and then when they get wet, they turn into gremlins. Is that right? Or is it? No, it's the other way around. When they get wet, they multiply, and then if you feed them after midnight, they turn into gremlins.
Yeah.
Well, I do both.
I've seen it.
There are both more of them, and they have turned into their.
What does that make you if you surround yourself with gremlins all the time?
I'm like the Chinese guy. Like the wise
guy
Chinese
at the beginning,
guy in the store who
sets
the chaos loose in the world and then fixes it all at the end and, just sort of smirks slightly just before the credits.
I always liked that guy. He was in a lot of stuff in the 80s. He'd always show up as the old Asian guy.
Yeah, he's the cool one. That's me. That's me. I'm like the Chinese sensei. No, Japanese. I don't know.
I think he was Chinese.
Tell me.
Yes.
Your horrendous, intolerant, regressive friends.
Yeah. Well, most of them won't talk to me anymore.
On your side of the pond that you were responsible for creating during your time at the Young Turks. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I mean the people who have emerged from your side of the political divide, who you have nothing in common with ideologically at all. What's the response from them been to somebody who started off at a very progressive outlet? You were at the Young Turks, which is about as left wing as it gets for a sizable new media company. Mm-hmm. You started off there. You left because you realized that it was heading in a direction that you found, anti-intellectual and hateful and emotions driven over data and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
To your great credit, you got yourself out of there. A lot of people don't make that kind of principled move. And over time, you've sort of become more and more strident and defiant and insistent about free speech and the importance of open debate. What's the response been like from your fans from the olden days? From your Young Turks days? Because I know you've spoken a little bit about this, but my instinct is always that leftists are particularly ruthless and brutal to apostates.
Right. There's a fatwa. Let's put it that way.
Right. So tell me about it.
Yeah. So I'll first give you the good portion of it. The good portion of it is a lot of people saw it. A lot of people saw the same things that I was talking about. I think I've told you this before. The night that I knew something was really wrong, I knew about it for a couple months, but the night that the light bulb went off like that was when Sam Harris was on Real Time with Bill Maher and Affleck was there and they got into that big fight and Sam laid out these numbers about Pew polls and said there are nominal Muslims, there are jihadists and Islamists and all of these things. And Affleck's response was, "You're gross and racist." And then the next day,
you don't care about the facts. They just want
you don't care about facts. So Sam Harris, who's the most measured, I didn't even know who he was before that, but really this is a measured, decent guy, a good liberal, a neuroscientist, a guy who cares about science, right? Pouring the champagne. And suddenly the left just turned on him just because Affleck threw out the canard of racist. Suddenly the next day in Mediaite and HuffPo, all the online things, suddenly Bill Maher has to defend himself from the accusation of racism. Bill Maher, who has stood as the standard bearer of the left in America for about 20 years, right? So
he's realized he's got it, hasn't he? He gets it now. He gets the message.
Well, he gets it now and they're turning on him. So that's when they started to turn on him. I actually saw Bill at a party a few months after that. And I said, you got to watch out for the left. And he said, don't worry, I have the left. But I think he's really starting to learn that the far left is turning on him now. And
this is what I always say about the left. They don't eject their own bad actors. You know? If you're a white supremacist, you're like an avowed, declared white supremacist. Yeah. You will not get a hearing in conservative media. They will ostracize you in a heartbeat. In many cases, before you come out and say it. You won't get a column anywhere. You won't even get featured. People won't report on you that you are persona non grata. Contrast that with the worst of the left. Because they clothe themselves in the veneer of tolerance and equality and diversity and all this kind of stuff. Yet the feminists, who I think we both agree can be some of the most bigoted and hateful and horrible people on the planet. Black Lives Matter, and I don't know you quite where you sit on this, but I suspect you're somewhere close to me, which is that it is a very bad solution to a real problem. And that many of the Black Lives Matter activists do not act in their own best interest. Let's put it diplomatically.
Yeah, I can go that far with you. Yeah.
The end result of Black Lives Matter is black cities in flames, not any improvement in social conditions for black
flipping
people.
over cop cars and burning things and burning down stores is not helping her cause that I have obviously great sympathy
The left
for.
won't condemn this.
Yeah.
On the right,
they'll encourage it, actually.
Yeah, they do. They make excuses for it.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing on the American political right? The 5,000 people who still claim to be a member of the KKK, like, who cares? It is a spent force. It is decades old and irrelevant. These people don't get on TV. They don't get elected. In fact, the only elected officials that are in the KKK are Democrats, of course. Yeah. Thanks for that too. Yeah. On the right, you've got this sort of tiny, irrelevant fringe that are held up as sort of specters and phantoms and, blown out of all proportion by the press, by liberals. On the liberals, you've got genuinely hateful, violent people. And this has always been the case of feminism. It was a feminist that tried to kill Andy Warhol. I have no doubt whatsoever that somebody's going to try and shoot me at some point in the next 10 years. None whatsoever. It's going to happen. And then when it does, the press will say, well, he had it coming. He was a provocateur,
Well, dare I give Ben Shapiro credit on the Milo Yiannopoulos podcast, but Ben has been saying for years that the left won the culture war, and because of that, they can frame anything under the guise of racist, misogynist, and all that stuff.
I don't think that's Ben's wholly original insight, but he said
not wholly, but I think he wrote a book about it a while back, and he said a lot about it. So it's obviously, in that regard, I think you would agree with him probably. Yeah, and because of that, they've been able to frame the argument. So the answer to your question, though, is a lot. When I decided to leave and when I had my awakening, a lot of people came with me, and it was great. And people were saying, I finally was waiting for someone to say this and do all this stuff. A lot of them came with me. And the people that didn't basically just threw out the bullshit canards. So even people that I had worked with.
People call you racist and sexist now?
Yeah. And people that I had worked with, that I've had at my house, that I've had dinner with, that I considered good friends, suddenly were texting me and saying what a bigot and a racist I am and
amazing.
All of this stuff. And my response always would be, and by the way, I got a lot of it after the first time I had you on.
Yeah, like, how dare you give a platform to this monster? Yeah. Because they don't understand. You might want to hear from somebody. You might want to hear
somebody. All I said is, listen, I let the guy talk, and now if you like his ideas, great. If you don't, okay. I thought that was just how we are.
Well, I thought that's what the purpose of journalism was, but never mind. But this is interesting, actually. And it leads on to another question I want to ask you. At American University, there was a black guy who asked me a question. He said, I was wondering here, Black Lives Matter were giving me hassle, like almost physically assaulting me because I wanted to come and listen to this talk. And I gave him some advice and talk to him a little bit about how Black Lives Matter just doesn't tolerate black people with the wrong opinions, which I want to ask you about in a second. But it didn't even occur to them, and it doesn't occur to the sort of crazy intersectional progressive feminist Black Lives Matter left. It doesn't even occur to them that you might want to listen to somebody with a different opinion from your own. It doesn't even occur to them. They can't wrap their heads around why you would ever read or listen to something that you don't already know you agree with.
Right.
I find that horrifying. And it's a rise of what our friend Christina would call therapy culture.
Yeah.
The idea that things exist, the world exists, the stuff around you exists to sort of comfort and reassure you and to underscore your pre-existing prejudices.
Right. So
rather than to challenge you.
So think about this idea of intersectionality. The idea that they pick their oppression Olympics and who's oppressed most, and they have Islam at the top of that. So Muslims are at the top of that, and then they have their whole thing. By the way, other minorities, if you're a minority.
Can you help me with this, by the way? Can you lay out the whole table for me?
The whole chart. It's a lot.
Nobody has been able to explain to me the definitive list.
Give me a couple days, I'll get you like the full.
Because you guys came up with this, so I would love to know. Because I want to troll these people. I want to.
Yeah, you want to just every time there's a picture.
Even my comedy is underscored by fact, and I would like to have officially from an upstanding professional liberal in the media. Please tell me. Like, will you
will
commit
work
to
on it.
supplying me with a definitive Oppression Olympics team?
I will have one of my people infiltrate the groups that I'm no longer allowed to visit and come up with the official chart.
So I want to know,
this idea,
like paraplegic Syrian refugee versus
that's very
black
high.
lesbian feminist versus, I want to know.
Right.
I want to know.
Right. But we know that Islam is at the top of all that. The most intolerant thing to all of their progressive ideals is actually at the top of their chart.
Because Islam hates the West as much as they do.
And I see that now, which is a pretty sad concept. But this idea of intersectionality.
See, Dave is an example of how it's possible to save everyone. The Young Turks of all places. You see, if you could
go to the belly of the beast.
If you could save Dave Rubin, you can save anyone.
I went to the belly of the beast. Look, a flexible brain is an important thing. You know what I mean? There are still neurons firing in here. Most people want to shut them all down. But this idea of intersectionality. So I'm a feminist and you're black and you're paraplegic and you're transgender and all this. And we all come together to mesh our oppression together. What does it create? Gays for Palestine.
Oh my God.
And these people who literally think,
oh my God,
who literally boycott and protest the one tiny place the size of New Jersey.
97% of Palestinians think homosexuality is an unacceptable lifestyle choice. It's higher than anywhere else in the Islamic world.
Right.
And it's the one place that these idiotic fucking queers choose to support.
Yeah.
97% of
Palestinians.
That's the highest anywhere in the Islamic world.
That's what intersectionality does. It creates such a mess of morally confused and conflated mind that somehow makes sense to them, right? So you'll have these guys on the left. You'll have thought leaders on the left. You'll have a guy like Glenn Greenwald. This is a gay Jew. I don't know if he's practicing, but he was born Jewish. He is married to a man, and he will defend Hamas and Islamists to the tilt and slander everyone who argues against them. I think Gad Saad, who's been on my show many times, a brilliant guy who was a refugee from Lebanon because he was Jewish. He has said, listen, I'll send. I think he said he was going to offer to pay to fly Glenn to Gaza if he'll wear a shirt that says, I'm proud and gay and here's my husband.
Proud.
Why don't you do that for a day and then I'll give you guys some credit.
They're spineless, so we should do it.
Yeah.
We should do it.
Oh, we should go to Gaza?
After the break. Yeah. We're going to come back and we're going to discuss our mission to the Middle East.
Milo
I'm going to fund
Yiannopoulos.
it. Rubinopolis. We're going to go to the Middle East right after these messages.
What if today was the last normal day of your life? Cassie Sullivan thought she knew what tomorrow would bring. But she was wrong. We were all wrong. The first wave took our power, killing 500,000 people. The second wave put that number to shame, with tsunamis that destroyed everything within 100 miles of the ocean. After the third wave, only the unlucky remained, survivors of a virus that left only 3% of the world still standing. In the fourth wave, the others became us. Inhuman beings hiding behind human faces. At the dawn of the fifth wave, we had to choose, give up or get up and fight. But that was only the beginning. In these last days, Earth's remaining survivors will need to decide what's more important, saving ourselves or saving what makes us human. Rick Yancey's #1 New York Times best-selling novel, The Fifth Wave, introduces us to a group of young people struggling to survive in the aftermath of a catastrophic alien invasion. Its sequels, The Infinite Sea and the newly released The Last Star, follow them through a series of battles and betrayals as they fight the ultimate war between life and death, hope and despair, love and hate. Entertainment Weekly calls the series remarkable, not to be missed under any circumstances, and urges fans to just read it. USA Today hails this as a modern sci-fi masterpiece. And best-selling author of The Passage, Justin Cronin, raves in his New York Times book review, calling The Fifth Wave wildly entertaining. The highly anticipated finale is here and will leave readers stunned. Learn more about the Fifth Wave series at fifthwavebooks.com.
Making an impression is all about contrasts. Listen to gangster rap in the afternoon and Wagner in the evening. Wear Louis Vuitton but smoke Newports. Lunch at Claridge's but dine at KFC. Why spend tens of thousands on a fancy car when you can make just as much of an impression stepping out of a used Toyota in Gucci sunglasses and a three-piece Savile Row suit? I'm not entirely sure this is true, actually. You can get out of a used Toyota in Gucci sunglasses and a three-piece suit and create the same impression as stepping outside of a Maybach. But you know what? Let's go with it. With TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing, so you can lock in guaranteed savings off the MSRP. I have no idea what that is. I guess you do. And enjoy a better buying experience. TrueCar customers are more likely to enjoy a faster buying process when they connect with TrueCar certified dealers. Over 2 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar certified dealer network, and there are over 11,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide. You will work directly with the TrueCar certified dealer, and TrueCar users save an average of $3,279 off the... Oh, I know, it's manufacturer's suggested retail price. There we go. So I'm basically like an old person who has to... who's forgot... This is Tom, my producer in the background, who is back as a special cameo appearance to snigger at me while I attempt to get through the ad break. Thank you for that, Tom. Using the TrueCar website or the TrueCar app, you can easily find the car you want. So when you're ready to buy a new or a used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states. I have been Milo Yiannopoulos. Thank you for listening.
Even though blue-haired social justice warriors hurl themselves off the Golden Gate Bridge when they hear us say it, this is the Milo Yiannopoulos Show.
You can drink when we're recording, it's okay. Yeah. All right, John, we're good to go again. Welcome back to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show. I'm here with a delightful guest. We've been having a wonderful conversation.
Rubinopolis. I like that. That sounds good.
Rubinopolis. I think we should have tour t-shirts. I think we should go to the Middle East. And I think we should wear Out and Proud t-shirts. We'll have to take a gigantic security detail, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think?
Well, by the way, you know that right now it's Pride Week in Israel, and people say that they're pinkwashing. That's what they come up with a new term. They say they're treating their gays well so that they can oppress the Palestinians. It's psychotic. Has treating gays well ever helped you oppress anyone? Like, literally, that's the danger.
It's this sort of contorted logic.
It's contorted logic of the nth degree. and they don't even realize it, and that's why it must be destroyed. And that's why when you gave that nice speech at the end of the last interview we did, that you have on your YouTube channel right now, you said your point at the end was, if we can destroy... I give good closing. It was a sharp closing. Your point was, though, that if we can destroy this ideology now at the height of its power, you can erase this thing for I think you said we can get rid of it forever.
I think so.
But I think we can at least get rid of it for a long time. We can really do that. Well, but that's why we have to fight back hard now and focused.
It's not too much of an exaggeration to say that the survival of Western civilization, by which I mean women and gays having equal rights and the freedom to walk down the street unmolested and all the rest of it.
Crazy.
And the success.
What kind of racist bigot are you? Wait, let me just get this straight. You want women to be able to walk down the street not in a beekeeper costume.
Now, of course, I do have some sympathy as a homosexual with the Saudi way of life. You know, I mean, keeping women under wraps doesn't really affect me that much.
I know, and women drivers aren't that great. I know. Look, I mean, yeah.
But sometimes you can arrive at the right conclusions for the wrong reasons, as I like to say. No, but obviously makes no sense. This stuff is obviously based on bigotry and feelings rather than evidence and facts. What would you say is the most egregious sin? What's the most egregious falsehood, sin, conspiracy theory, the worst thing that the progressive left does today? What do you think matters the most?
I mean, the most dangerous thing for truly the future of Western society, the future of free thought, the whole damn thing is the way they have coddled Islam. Islam, listen, I am not talking, and this is where when you were on my show, and you didn't make the distinction between the nominal Muslim person and the Islamist.
You were trying to save me from myself.
And you said you don't want that favor. So I understand this is where we see things a little differently. That's fine. But I do make the distinction between, look, you have Islam, which is a religion. You have Muslim people that may believe, may not, just celebrate holidays. Then you have Islamists who believe in political Islam, which is happening all over Europe right now.
I don't see much of a distinction between.
All right, so that's fine. So we can agree to disagree on that.
You're not quite red-pilled on Islam yet. But it was a very you started answering that question very strongly. So
you don't like where I'm going with this?
You get credit for that, but now you're getting into the politically correct distinction.
I can still see the distinction between the average person who doesn't mind celebrating iftar once a year and the violent jihadists. Call me crazy.
But that's because you're American and you don't have Muslims here. All you have have here is rich ones who could afford to fly over because you're not in a contiguous landmass with any Islamic countries, right?
What's that town? What's that town that Tommy Robinson's from? Luton?
Yeah, I think he's from Luton.
And wear gay shirts? What would happen there?
You would die. Maybe not die, but you would get beaten up. You would get beaten up. If you and I were to
that would be something.
If you and I were to stage something like where we walked,
what if we just announced that we're going
hand in hand down just for the purposes of theater?
Just for the purposes of theater. I don't want people to.
Just for
I've seen some of the memes they're making.
We'll do it for journalism. Yeah, I've seen some of those. Dave and I are not interested in one of them. Dave is a husband, and I don't go for white guys, but I like the memes. It'd probably be quite good hate sex though, wouldn't it? I just really wind you up about, I don't know. Let's move on. Let's move on. Luton.
But yeah,
Luton.
I mean, really, I don't mean we have to wear pink flamingo costumes. I mean,
we could do that too.
Yeah, we could do that too. But really, if we just said we're going to Luton, that's it.
And we're going to just just film.
See what happens.
Film. I'm up for this. I'll fund this. We should do this.
Fund the hospital bill too?
Oh, well, we don't pay for,
you don't do medical?
I don't do medical. And if you get sick in Britain, I think pretty much anyone in the world gets free NHS treatment. So I don't think I need a line item in the budget.
By the way, I love the fact that yesterday afternoon before we get to the event, I said to you, what's the security situation? And you were like, God, don't worry, I'm taken care of. And I was like, but what about me?
Oh, don't worry, I'm taken care of. Yeah, that sounds like something I'd say.
Yeah.
No, I extended the aura of protection from my security detail over to you.
You made it clear that if anyone bum rushed the stage, we were both going to be okay. But the answer to your question is that what they've done with Islam is the most dangerous thing. This is not, what I'm about to say is not bigotry towards the nominal Muslim person, of course. But this is an ideology that is completely against the non-believer, completely against women, completely against gays, completely against Jews, completely against free thought, and completely against ex-Muslims. You're an apostate. That means they can kill you if you leave this ideology.
They treat apostates almost as bad as they treat gays.
Almost as bad as they treat gays. Right. It's also very easy to get in to Islam.
Look, I have to call you on this.
Yeah.
Like, you're an evidence-based person, right? You like facts and reason and logic, right? How many Islamic countries could you be killed
51.
for being gay?
Well, there's 51 Islamic countries,
but
I think
probably 11 of them. You could 12 maybe.
It's probably more, but
maybe you could be killed for being gay. I mean, that's not an Islamist thing. That's an Islam thing. That's mainstream Muslim culture that criminalizes homosexuality. And in many of those countries, there's a death penalty.
Yeah.
I think at last count it's something 11 or 12. There's a death penalty for being, as you would say, who you are.
Yeah.
That's not a terrorist problem. That's not an Islamist problem. That's not a political Islam problem. That's an Islam problem, isn't it?
I would say that's a political Islam problem, but it's political Islam.
Well,
the word Islam.
I mean, how many of them do there have to be before you say, okay, this is just Muslims? That's my question to you.
Well, because
how many? 50%? Do you want 90%? 99%? Are you still going to hold out desperately to that 1% of Muslims who don't want to kill you?
I would
99%. How many? My question. I'm giving you a tough question because I think this is important.
Yeah.
How many does it have to be? How many of the 51 Islamic countries, how many of them have to institute the death penalty of homosexuality before you accept that this is an Islam problem?
Listen, I'm not going to defend the doctrine of Islam in any way. I know what it says about the non-believers, the kuffars. It says some pretty horrible shit about all of us. I mean, literally everyone that's in this room right now, and pretty much everyone you know in your life, and your mom, and everybody else.
We've got two gays, a Hispanic drug addict. We've got all sorts of people in here.
That's what my point is. It's not big on Hispanic drug addicts. Okay, it's not. It's not. He seems like a nice fella.
Who will remain nameless.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm not going to defend. You're not going to get me to defend the doctrine itself, which is pretty. You see, you've upset the Hispanic drug addict.
Poor Angel. That's no rails for me later.
Yeah, so trust me.
Just kidding, listeners.
You bad people.
No, I don't do that anymore. I didn't inhale. What was
I can't
that
even imagine you on anything at this point. I know you normal. And it's
no.
It's high enough.
This is the thing. I'm insane with nothing in my system, right? I have a few glasses of wine, I get calmer. You see, everybody thinks because I fidget a lot and I sniff and touch my nose and I'm jerky and jumping all the time. Yeah. That's me normal. I wake up like that. Everybody thinks I'm a fucking coke addict.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Can I tell people?
I maybe need Adderall or something.
Can I tell people when I saw you the most calm, actually? The most calm, and it wasn't for long, but little brief blippets of the little boy that was once Milo Yiannopoulos was when we went.
I just arrived in a puff of misogyny.
Yeah, no, we went to the Magic Castle, which is a really awesome spot here in LA. It's true. It's a castle. It's a real castle.
So amazing.
It's a black tie,
So
invite only
amazing.
thing, and they have magicians. They have little card tricks. Then they're cutting women in half in big shows. All this stuff. It's an unbelievable, spectacular evening, and you were so in awe of the magicians and humbled by the evening.
I had a real moment.
There was a side of you that I have never seen
I had a
before. It
moment.
was
I had a
actually quite
moment.
nice.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah, so trying to escape allegations that I might secretly be human for some time.
I know, but I'm letting people know when it comes.
Exploding.
There's something fitting about that. Like a magician can make you normal. You know what I mean? Like that's what it takes. It does kind of make sense.
Only an illusionist can make you real.
Yeah, like that. It does kind of make sense.
All right. Let me ask you about the show. I know that you've got, we have a debate lined up that we will discuss in future shows.
Yes.
I'm sure. Going to be an exciting debate, which will happen hopefully by the end of June. Let me ask you, you've become known in the last, I think your profile has risen around the same time mine has. Mm-hmm. We're now known as some of the ringleaders of this mischievous new, sort of free speech movement. You're an interviewer. You're a host. I do kind of the live talks and reporting analysis stuff, and then I do my crazy live spectacle. But you're, like almost like an old media guy in a new media company. You're a host. You're an interviewer. What are your goals because you collect this sort of great motley crew of unlikely allies, which is what the progressive left has done. It's put us two together. But it's also
that's what they made me.
A load of other weird people together that you wouldn't normally expect to be pushing in the same direction. And you on your show try to collect as many of them as possible for interviews and to show how, I think what you're trying to do, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're trying to do is show how broad this coalition is.
Yes.
With the different races and genders and sexuality, all the rest of it, just show the progressive left just how many people they've alienated.
By the way, I've had a couple guests, and I don't need to name them, who I do consider part of the regressive left. So it's not that I'm just trying to show.
Well, you should name them.
But it's not that I'm just trying to show.
Who are they?
People can figure it out.
Just
jump on there and go. It doesn't. I don't need to mock my. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to open because maybe they'll come back and I can expose bad ideas again. So I don't need to openly mock them. But the point is, it's not that I'm just trying to show people this coalition that we can become and that we are becoming. But I want to show people all kinds of ideas. So I'll have 3 weeks ago I had Yaron Brook, who's the president of the Ayn Rand Foundation, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a capitalist, right? There's a pure capitalist and an objectivist. And then the week later, I had John Fugelsang, who is a far left comedian who uses a lot of the tropes that we've mentioned here, but a guy that I really like and really respect. And he was, without knowing who I had on the week before, was mocking Ayn Rand. And guess what? I sat there for both interviews. I listened to them and I didn't have to shout them down.
Knowing you as I do, I have some idea of where your real sympathies are. And you, I think, for somebody on the left, quite brave about how, your strong views on free speech and, irrespective of whether or not some people think it's hateful, some people think it's hate speech, with such crazy words they use. You insist on the right of people to be able to say it. And I think you're with me that all speech is good speech in the sense that more of it is always a good thing.
My only caveat to that would be maybe the direct call for violence is the one place where
Right.
If last night you had been on stage and literally been screaming, kill black people, kill trans people.
Yeah, I think
I certainly wouldn't have shared the stage with you and I would have used my speech to mock you.
Right.
That's where the legal part comes in. That's a little
No, but
bit
I think
of a
most
slippery
people
slope.
understand that and most people agree with that, but it's a question of taste, I wouldn't want to share the stage with anybody who says that either.
Right.
Of course, feminism regularly says kill all white men, and we're supposed to say
well, white men are the worst. They're the bottom. So I didn't give you that chart yet, the official Olympics chart. But when I get it to you, white cisgendered men,
heterosexual white men,
the worst. There is
they're
nothing.
My favorites. They're my favorites. They're my favorites.
All
those
especially
straight
if
white
they're a
men
little
out there.
old.
Congratulations on building Western civilization, on doing all of the awesome shit, getting us to the stars, plumbing the depths of the ocean, designing the internet, building the roads, architecting everything, designing everything, doing the math and engineering required to build everything. Congratulations, straight white males. You're not that fucking bad.
Well, we must destroy them now.
Yeah, it's time to go. Time to go. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the media industry before we wrap up.
Yeah.
You live in Hollywood. You work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
How bad is it?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I mean, Hollywood as a general thing, Listen, it's a business that functions a certain way. So, a lot of times when they'll say Hollywood is the worst or Hollywood's pushing this or Hollywood's only about money, it's a business like everything else. That's what people have to understand first and foremost. Every business, what should a business be for? A business should be for making money. You work for Breitbart.
But don't they get that most people don't buy into this social justice crap?
So that's
look
where
at the impending flop of the Ghostbusters movie. All this kind of, like, people at home don't believe this stuff. So
yeah.
Help me to understand. Like, maybe you can explain this, because I don't know that many people in Hollywood yet. Why is it that the politics of this place are so mental and so out of step with what ordinary people believe?
So Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters is a great example of that, because I watched that trailer. Now, first off, let me just say, the original Ghostbusters, I loved it. I even love Ghostbusters 2. All the pink slime and the hate New York City.
I don't feel an obligation to pander to the geeks.
No,
even though many of them love me, I don't have any special love for Ghostbusters.
I loved Ghostbusters.
I think maybe because I'm too young. When did it come out?
Yeah, it was like 86 or something.
Yeah, I think I was 2.
Yeah, so I loved it. So I was 10. So like,
okay, so it was one of the. So it was your Jurassic Park.
I love Jurassic Park 2 in 95, but I'm with you. I'm with
4,
you.
I think.
Is it 94? All right.
Yeah.
Point is, I loved it. And
I grew up in Jurassic Park. You're a Ghostbusters person.
I'm a Ghostbusters guy. So I loved it, and I loved the second one. I watched the trailer for the new Ghostbusters. It simply was not funny. There was not one moment where I thought this is funny or ironic. The first Ghostbusters, the real brilliance of the Ghostbusters that people don't know, the bad guy in the Ghostbusters was not the ghosts. It was the government. The whole point of the Ghostbusters was that the government came in and these
edgy. What is this? This is ANCAP analysis from Dave Rubin.
Think about this. Who were the bad guys in the Ghostbusters? It wasn't the ghosts. It was the government regulator that came in from the EPA and said, "You guys are controlling what's your machines down here that aren't regulated and blah blah blah. I'm shutting it down." And he shut it down, and then the ghosts escaped. So the government was the bad guys in Ghostbusters. So think how anti-authoritarian really.
I think I've seen it once.
Yeah,
you need
to watch it again.
This is really a libertarian movie. This is a sort of small government, get out of the way of private enterprise. This little scrappy startup private enterprise is going to save the world. What city is it? New York?
It's New York City.
Save New York. Were it not for the bumbling bureaucratic ineptness of local. I see.
Literally, that's what it was. They create their own technology, their own company. They buy their shitty car, and then who gets in the way? The government. So the ghosts are not the bad guy. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, not the bad guy in Ghostbusters.
He was always quite cute.
Everybody loves the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Anyway.
I've liked the memes, by the way, about the new trailer. Who are you going to call Weight Watchers?
That's funny. I haven't seen that one. Yeah. But so in answer to your question, I mean, Hollywood is nuts, but it's a business like anything else. And I think that when they realize that this cultural libertarian movement is the way, is a real way to be edgy.
Yeah.
Wait, last night, who was the comedian? I forgot his name.
Noel Miller.
Noel Miller. So this
good,
guy,
very good.
I think I met him once before through you for a split second.
Yeah.
I watched him last night. He's only been doing stand up for like maybe 2 years or something. So he's not a great comic yet, but the pieces are there. And what I said to him after was, dude, you're already more edgy than 99% of the comics out there because you're fighting the power the way a cultural libertarian is supposed to. He was mocking political correctness. He was mocking
and this is
feminism and all this stuff.
This is not a guy, and he said on stage, he doesn't really know or care about politics that much. He just cares about, he's an observer of human nature.
Right.
And he's seen it. And because he's young and his career is just beginning, he hasn't yet encountered the, oppressive counterweight.
Right. He hasn't sat in a meeting at Hollywood where they
said, no, you can't say that.
Don't say that. Don't do this. But
this is it. You see, this is what the internet and YouTube has given us, because he has the potential to build his career outside of those studios and outside of the.
Well, think about it.
It's very incestuous as well, isn't it? Everyone in Hollywood, they sort of, people marrying their producers and things.
Marrying their producers. I mean, the casting couch is the casting couch for a reason.
Yeah.
But think about it. Think about me and you.
That was a joke about you.
Oh wait, say it again.
That was a joke about you.
I might have missed
marrying your producer.
Oh right, I did marry my producer. Good. That was we're not really in Hollywood. The point is, think about this. Me and you right now, right? You would think that with everything we have going on, that the networks would be knocking our doors down. You would think that Fox News
They're not knocking yours down.
Listen, I get calls, but they're not offering me. They should be. I mean, is Fox News? They should be offering you the world. They should be saying, we will fire Hannity tomorroro. We will give you,
Hannity.
But it's not about Hannity. But they should say, we will fire Hannity tomorrow. We will put you on after O'Reilly, and we're going to give you $20 million a year to do it. You're the future of this thing. Our average viewer is 71 years old or something, and let's do it. And they're not. So what does that tell? It either tells you something about old school business, or I don't think it says anything of the nature of Hollywood in itself. As much as business is slow to change, people are slow to change. There's a system in place.
But you think it's coming?
People there, but I do think it's coming.
You think it's coming?
Yeah. And that's why an announcement that I will be making in the next couple of weeks is very relevant to that.
I know some of this.
You know
none
some
of which I'm able to repeat.
You're one of only, the fact that I've even trusted you with that is really
I'm
says,
very trustworthy.
No, I know. It says,
I make, everyone assumes that I'm going to be a gossip, but I'm a journalist.
No,
I train as a journalist. I've never just betrayed a source. I've never broken a...
It's basically like my brother, my sister, you, and one other guy.
I've never shared a secret I wasn't supposed to, except when they've been really funny. yours isn't,
Mine isn't funny. It's
yours
not
doesn't
funny.
get me enough social capital to break your confidence.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
No, I got you.
Just kidding.
No, I got you. But anyway, it leads to why I'm about to announce a little something career-wise, and yeah, we just got to keep building.
Well,
this thing.
listeners, you didn't hear it here first.
You didn't. You didn't, but you did in a way.
In a way, there's something coming.
Yeah,
there's something coming.
You got to tease these people. You can't just lay it all out.
No, I know something about seduction.
You do.
Everyone said last night I was coming on to you. I think that's just how I talk.
Well, because when you get humbled, when I make a good joke at your expense,
I don't think that happened.
There are these brief moments where you kind of, I can see your whole body language change, your head cocks a certain way. It's all true. There's a human somewhere inside Milo Yiannopoulos.
We will finish on that dishonest and disreputable observation. How dare you, sir?
Do I get a bottle of champagne to go now that, considering
how much more do you
want? You
want?
guys have all the dough, and I'm just a
when
humble.
Are you coming out for
I'm
Daddy?
a humble, decent liberal with IKEA furniture.
Oh, disgusting! That's your own fault. Margaret Thatcher used to say, if you're over 30 and still catching public transport, consider yourself a failure. Well, I think much the same about IKEA furniture.
That's funny. I took the
You're
bus.
gay. What is wrong with you? You should at least have some sort of reclaimed something from somewhere.
I assure you that I'm good at the right gay things. How about that, Milo Yiannopoulos?
Sounds like degeneracy to me. Dave Rubin.
It's quite degenerate.
Thank you. Enough. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, brother.
Exciting. I think it's an exciting time to be us. It's always an exciting time to be Milo Yiannopoulos, but it's particularly exciting
even
time.
For me?
Even though it's an exciting time for
Milo.
both of us. Last night, I think we both said this on stage, that there is something exciting happening. This is a movement. This is a moment in culture. And you're helping to lead it for some of the waifs and strays and lost children of the American left who find themselves bewildered and alienated by the small but powerful social justice contingent. I'm trying to do the same for a probably similarly sized audience elsewhere in the country, the mischief makers and dissidents and college students.
Yeah, but you link all these people together and then you got something.
Link all these people together and you got something. This has been Milo Yiannopoulos with Dave Rubin. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, brother.
You've been listening to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show, the podcast that launched 1,000 therapy sessions for triggered snowflakes. Thanks for tuning in, and please do subscribe on iTunes, leave us a comment, a rating, whatever you like. Our producer is Tom Sikotta. Our researchers are Will Ross and Michael Poole. Our resident German, Mark Geppert, ensures the trains run on time, and our sound engineer, John Fitch, can be found at sturbridgesound.com. Download new episodes of the Milo Yiannopoulos Show at podcast1.com, and you can also listen to us at Breitbart.
Stay tuned for 60-second AP News headlines.